Hey guys, welcome to the video. This one is going to be a little bit different to my normal content. It's going to be a much longer video. There's a bit of everything in this one. There's a bit of landscaping, a bit of pressure washing, a bit of repointing. There's a timestamp down the bottom if you want to skip the initial walk around. This is probably one of the biggest projects I've ever taken on my own. And I've ignored my own advice that I gave about 2 weeks ago about staying in your lane. But if you're the sort of person that enjoys watching a project go from start to finish, then you might find this quite interesting. Relax, get yourself a cup of tea and some biscuits, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I think we've got to wait for this guy to finish doing this. Come on!
Come on.
Morning. We've got a big one today. We're going to be spending, I reckon, about 3 days here because we've got some other jobs as well as obviously pressure washing the drive. This is Sophie's mum's house. This is the first drive I ever pressure washed, and it was a big one. It's massive. I'll show you in a bit. It's not just the drive. I've done next doors, by the way. I did that earlier this year. We're going to be doing all this as well, which I don't think I did last time. I can't remember. I've got some, just ordered some jointing compound from Pure Seal. Some of the grey stuff. So I'm probably going to vacuum all this out first, just to save getting grit everywhere. I think Sophie's mum wants to keep it and maybe wash it and do something with it. I'm not too sure, but we're going to vacuum all the joints out, then we're going to pressure wash it, then we're going to do the jointing compound. This is going to be quite a long video, I feel like. There's also a few other bits we've got to do. That little bush there, we're going to dig that out. There's 3 of those, I think, that we've got to remove. Over here, I think we're probably going to be doing some levelling, although I'm not sure how thick the roots are going to be. I've brought my axe, so I'm going to have a go at pulling some of this up and just tidying it up a bit. Here, this big slab at the bottom has sort of sunk and these bricks have sort of come with it. So we're going to be pulling all these bricks out and redoing that. And then there's a few areas around the drive, like this bit. We've already pulled that brick up. There's a root coming from obviously under that tree there. I'm going to try and re-level that. I'm going to re-level this bit here. This bit in the corner. And then also this bit. I'm not super confident with this, just because I've pulled some roots up before in other properties and they spread. It's like a carpet, it's like a blanket underneath of like finer roots. Got decent drainage. I think there's a drain in the middle there, so I'm not too worried about the drainage in this area for the pressure washing. Oh, also over here, we've got another one to dig up just there, look. And she's asked me to pull all these rocks out, all the stones. We're going to put them in a pile, and then all this is going to be sort of scraped back. And she's got a big bag of topsoil to sort of redo this whole bed. And then we're going to put the rocks back in. So that should come up well. That should be a nice little transformation at the front. Probably going to pressure wash the tops of the walls. I'm not too sure yet. We're definitely not going to touch the sides of the walls because she likes the way that looks. And then round to the side. Is that an anvil? Where's she had that from? Been quite a bit of work done to the garden since I last pressure washed it. I think it was over 2 years ago. And you can see with the amount of like surrounding foliage and stuff, everything's grown back quite quickly. And we didn't use chemicals last time, but this time we are going to use hypo, and I might even do a biocide treatment after everything's done. Lots of pots to obviously shift out the way. I'm going to move all this onto the grass. All these big troughs and stuff. This whole area around the side. These were like my first before and after videos. This is the first short that I posted that did quite well on social media and TikTok and stuff, so this is what inspired me to sort of keep going. And then I'm gonna go down here, and then I think this is the last bit that needs sorting out. It's all these trees everywhere. What I don't want to do is hack the roots away and then kill off part of the tree. I don't know how it works, but Mandy's given me the go ahead to just do it anyway. I've roughly measured it on Google Earth. The whole area is around about 180 square meters, I think. It's a lovely place, beautiful garden. It's going to be a lot of work though. I'm hoping to spend about 3 days here, but we'll see how we get on. We'll see.
So we started out by removing all the stones and the rocks from the rockery in preparation for the new soil, and it was quite deceptive. It's surprising how much actually came out. It's like you remove one and you discover another two underneath, and we ended up with a massive pile at the end. Then I moved on to the driveway and started tackling this sunken slab and all the other bricks around it. Now if you're thinking about offering this as an add-on service to your pressure washing, there's a few things to consider. The sunken areas are generally much easier to deal with than the areas that are raised by things like roots, and you'll see that a bit later on in the video. With block paving, generally they'll be lay on sharp sand, and so all you really need to do to be able to offer this is to have a rake, a level, a mallet, and buy a couple of bags of sharp sand, and you can pull the blocks out with either a couple of flathead screwdrivers or a little pry bar or something like that. Pull them out, lay them down next to you in the same order that they came out in, so try and make the same pattern behind you, just so that you don't forget where they go, because if you do forget, it's a nightmare trying to get them back in the right place. Either that, or take a decent before picture so that you don't get stuck halfway through. You can always refer back to that photo. And take this advice with a pinch of salt, because this isn't my area of expertise. But you want to try and raise and level the sand so that it's about 1 or 2 centimeters higher than it needs to be. And you can measure this just by dropping one of the block pavers back onto the top of the sand to get the level. And essentially you want to leave enough room so that when you compact the block paver on top of the sand, it's going to drop about 1 or 2 centimeters and full level with the others. It's a bit of trial and error, and it might take you 2 or 3 tries to get it right, but once you get into a rhythm, you'll find it gets slightly easier and easier as you go. And it's really satisfying work actually. When you get into it and things start going well, and then finally that last block goes into place and everything's looking good, it's a very, very satisfying job. I'm probably going to get a couple of landscapers screaming at me in the comments telling me I'm doing it wrong. Oh well. Now if you want to know about pricing, for me an area this size is probably going to take me about 15-20 minutes maybe, and a couple of bags of sharp sand depending on how much it's sunk, and I'd probably be at around about 25-30 quid. If you've got a couple of areas to do, it can soon add up, but I think that's fair. Now in my limited experience, these areas where there's roots that have lifted the slabs or the pavers, it's a totally different ball game. You want to sort of expect the worst, because It's amazing how far roots can spread, and depending on what kind of tree it is, sometimes it can literally spread like a carpet. And so you might think you only need to take up a small area, but actually, as soon as you start pulling them away, it extends much, much further than you expect. And so all I'd say is when you're quoting for this type of work, quote well and just allow yourself a little bit more time. And the other thing to think about is what you're going to do with all the waste, because after doing 2 or 3 areas about this size and pulling roots out, I ended up with a couple of wheelbarrows full of just roots and sand and dirt and stuff. So if you're not planning on leaving it with the customer, then you do need to plan how you're going to get rid of it.
Look at this. Cheesy beans on toast with brown sauce. Oof!
And to finish off day 1, I removed a few more roots from the top of the drive and just re-leveled the areas where the car had sort of repeatedly driven on the same spot, and it sort of moved the blocks around. Not bad progress. It was sweltering hot. I picked the worst week to start getting involved with landscaping, but I felt very productive and things seem to be going well so far.
Morning. Day 2. We did lots of work on Monday. Redone all this because all that had sunk in the corner. Relayed basically all those blocks there. Relayed all this over here and raised that slab because there was a step there where people kept tripping over. This corner is looking much better than it did before. Got rid of all the roots and sort of leveled everything off, relayed most of that. Did a bit up here, didn't work out that great just because these borders are laid on cement and so they're slightly raised. I couldn't get them any lower than that, but better than it was. So this morning I'm just going to be cutting a channel between the bricks and the dirt, just cutting a channel along here so that we could put some stones in. And we're also going to have a go at potentially relaying most of this today. We didn't really have a plan with this when I did the quote, but we were thinking of just relaying some of them. But actually I might just lift all of this, move it onto the drive, relay it like more sand, flatten everything off and just plonk them all back down a little bit neater than what they are now.
I've got a little announcement which some of you might have already heard if you tuned into the live stream last week, which is every Monday night at 7:30. Since the channel started doing quite well just after Christmas this year, I've received quite a few emails of offers of sponsorships and affiliate programs from various companies, from video game developers to web developers, various equipment suppliers. But to be honest, I've been holding out for companies who better represent the interests of my viewers and companies that I think my viewers would benefit more from me talking about. And I think you guys know that I tried to remain as sort of impartial and honest as possible when it comes to products and chemicals and equipment, all that sort of stuff. I try not to become how a lot of other people get when they start using a certain supplier or brand of equipment, and they form those relationships, which is fine, but then everything else on the market becomes rubbish, and if you go with them, then you're making the wrong decision, because this is the only way forward. The relationships that I've built and the suppliers that I use is the only way you're going to get the job done right. And I really don't believe in that sort of mentality. I think there's a lot of people in this industry that are doing things right and are giving good advice and are selling good products with good customer service, and there's room for everyone to exist in this sort of space. And if you've been around since the start and you've watched any of my earlier videos, you might remember I was an affiliate of Equip to Clean, and I thought, oh great, I get to promote products that I use, that I've bought myself to get my business started, and I can earn a little bit of commission on the side as well. It's a win-win. But then I made a few videos which showed a sort of honest reflection of my experience with their products, and they weren't necessarily bad. I still rate some of their products, but this particular one, they called me up and said they didn't really enjoy the video and they dropped me as an affiliate, which is absolutely fine. I was also getting to the point where I didn't really feel like promoting their products anymore. I saw there was better stuff out there on the market that I would rather talk about. And so we just sort of ended the relationship there, which is the right thing for me, and it was the right thing for them. And I never bash Equip to Clean. I think there's a definite gap in the market for that sort of price point, entry-level machines that are cheap enough to get your business going. And that's exactly what it did for me. But what I won't do is falsely recommend products just to try and earn a little bit of commission. The money's not that important to me. What I want to try and do with this channel is to become a reliable source of information where you get to see the good and the bad, and then you can make up your own decision whether you want to buy a certain product or not. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is because I'm very proud to share with you that Pure Seal have sent an invitation for me to join their affiliate program. And honestly, this is something I've been waiting for a long time. Just because I think it makes a lot of sense for this channel, I'm constantly recommending their products. There's a select few products that I've incorporated into my workflow now, and I use them on a daily basis. And I've also been on their approved applicator course, which has given me the knowledge of how to clean virtually every ground surface and how to seal it afterwards as well. And just through meeting the team, you can tell that they're just trying to make the best products on the market, and there's so much bad advice and misconceptions floating around on all the Facebook pages and stuff, and it's just nice to be in a position where I can spot that and try and correct or help others where they're about to make a huge mistake, for example. Anyway, regardless of whether I'm affiliated with Pure Seal or not, I think it's a company that I'd recommend going forward anyway. And if you think you'd benefit from learning more about which chemicals to use, which sealers to use, get yourself booked onto their courses, which are on their website. Obviously, I'll be earning a little bit of commission from when you click the link down in my description. It'll take you to their website, and then any of your purchases going forward, I'll get a bit of kickback from. So I'd really appreciate if you do decide to do that. You'd not only be supporting a very worthwhile business, but you'd be helping me as well. Tell you what, while I'm talking about Pure Seal, people are constantly asking me which chemicals I use. So here's the 3 big ones that I use almost every day. So the first one is obviously Synergy Clean Pro. This is what I use for gutters, fascias and soffits. Smells lovely, foams up really nice, sticks to vertical surfaces, and it rinses off much better than all the TFRs that I've used as well. You can use it as a degreaser, you can use it on fire damage, it's safe on pretty much all surfaces, so you're good to go. Now if you're looking for a good surfactant to add to your hypo, something that foams up really well, increases dwell times, the one that I use is the Pure Surf Boost. It comes in a 5 litre container, but you only actually need to use about 500 ml for a 25 litre drum of hypo. So you only need to buy this once for every 10 tubs of hypo that you use, which I think is a bit of a bargain. If you're not keen on mixing stuff yourself, which I totally understand, I've been there too, they do a pre-mixed hypo based product which is called Nuclear Pro, and it's already got the surfactant in there. It's got the scent mask so it doesn't smell horrible, and it's got wetting agents to help increase dwell times. They've also just released Nuclear Fallout Pro, which is their much stronger 13.5% version. You can dilute this one down to as little as 1 to 6 and still get really effective cleaning results. And the last one's for all those surfaces where it's not quite safe enough to use hypo. For things like tarmac, limestone and granite, I use Backclear Pro, which is a licensed biocide, and this is a product that's much more gentle. You can dilute it down to about 1 to 20 for roofs, 1 to 30 or 40 for ground surfaces, so a small tub goes a really long way. And it can keep surfaces free from organic growth for over 12 months. And this is something that I've recently started to incorporate into maintenance plans, instead of pressure washing the same surface over and over again and potentially causing damage. Obviously you can use this one on roofs too, so after you've scraped the roof, it will kill the reproductive cycle of the moss. And it's good practice to do it after you pressure wash roofs as well for long lasting results. Those are my main 3 or 4, but there's loads of other products on their website, and some of them serve very specific purposes. So if you're looking for something quite specialist for stain removal, chances are you'll find it on there.
Okay, so I've just finished relaying this. Not perfect, but it's much better than it was. We took all the roots out from underneath. Huge pile of rocks over here from digging up this rockery area. That's going to be relayed with some new turf or new topsoil. I'm going to put all those rocks back on. And then down here, just about to start vacuuming out all these little stones, because they're just going to kind of get in the way when I'm pressure washing I'm just going to end up going down the drain. So vacuum all these out, get most of it out, put them to one side, use them somewhere else, and then we're going to refill these joints with the jointing compound. End of day 2. Good progress. All this has been vacuumed out. See you guys tomorrow for the pressure washing. Morning, day 3. Just filling up the water. It's at the top now. I think it's just taken about 15 minutes to fill up, so I'm a bit concerned about the water pressure not being able to keep up. Last time I did this drive, this was the first ever job I did with my 11 litre per minute machine, so obviously I didn't really have any issues with water pressure, but now that I've got this beast, it's going to be a little bit of a different experience, I think. Everything's clear and moved out the way. The joints have all been vacuumed, ready to go. Surface cleaner's out. I'm going to do this bit with the surface cleaner, do the rest with the turbo nozzle. I'm going to see if we can reach and give that a little bit of a clean, and then maybe pop some biocide on it. And then round the back, we cleared out all the pots and furniture just before I left last night, so everything's on the grass now. Everything's nice and clear. We found a drain over here that we've been able to lift up. So I remember here last time I had a bit of a problem with drainage. This whole area flooded, even with the little 11 litre per minute machine. So I'll be putting a lot more water down on the surface this time, and thankfully it's going to go straight in there this time. This bit's nice and flat now. Most of the water last time drained down under the trampoline, so we're hoping that I'll just be left with a big pile of muck here. The water will drain away, and then we'll just scoop it up and give it a rinse down afterwards. Got that whole area up there to do as well. Let's get started. Haven't got round to fitting this yet, but PWS has sent out this adapter. It's good timing actually, because my trigger started to not pull and activate the water, so it's quite good timing. I'm going to take this trigger off, re-drill some holes. I'm not actually sure which way it goes just yet, and then you can plonk this adapter on. It's one of the Q adapters that can then go straight into there, so that I can get rid of the ball valve on the end of the high pressure hose, because when you unplug the lance, or when you unplug the surface cleaner from this, you don't have to turn the machine off, it just stops the water. This is on a swivel as well, so that's helpful. But it means I can get rid of the ball valve and just have this gun then, and I can have a couple of different lances, turbo lance, rinse down, and then this attached to that. Too hot for waterproofs today. I'm just going to stick my wellies on, I think.
Here's a little tip I learned recently. Your natural instinct will tell you to wash towards the drainage area. So like this drain, is at the bottom of the driveway, your instinct would be to start from the top and work your way down to the bottom. But I found that if you start by cleaning the area closest to the drain, it means you're not going to have to keep switching back from your rinse down nozzle to your turbo and back to your rinse down just to see where you've missed. Once I know the bottom area is clean, I can then move to the top and work my way back down and do everything all in one go without having to change lances or change nozzles. It's quite difficult to explain, but if like me you have issues with flooding occasionally and poor drainage, this is a really nice way of doing it.
So I'm trying a different tap that we've just found in the garage. It's a little bit leaky. It's leaking from the top here. I don't know how to fix that. I've tried nipping this up, but it's not done anything. So we'll see what the pressure's like now. Okay, so that's now filled up way quicker. We're right at the top now. So hopefully we can carry on without stopping now. That'd be wonderful. Just explaining to Sophie's mom about there might be a slight difference in the colour of the bricks where the car's been parked compared to where everything's been weathered. You can see all the aggregate coming through on the top of the bricks compared to over here when where they look a lot newer. But that's just part of having an old drive, I suppose, when it's exposed to the elements.
Some of you lot say that you want to hear the noise of the pressure washer more often in my videos. I think you're mad, but I'll give you the next 3 or 4 minutes of pressure washer ASMR. Enjoy.
So I haven't actually needed to stop once. I've just been going for like maybe 40 minutes straight and the tank's still half full. So the amount of difference just the other tap has made. I don't know why the pressure's different on two taps, but everything is clean out the front here. So I'm gonna have a good sweep, get all this up, and then rinse everything down, and then start around the back.
This might be a good time to go through some questions, so if you do have any questions, drop them down in the comments and I'll try and get round to them. I might not have time to respond to every single one, but I do read them all. The Lone Wolf commented on last week's video saying, on a Sunday, how desperate are you? I've worked Sundays in various jobs since my little boy was born. It must have been, it's like 9 years ago. And since then, it's just sort of worked out that I've sort of built my childcare schedule and built my life around working Sundays. So it's now a normal working day for me. And it works out really well. I have Tuesdays and Saturdays off. I always remember feeling like the weekend had passed me by so quickly. And when you're in a job that you don't enjoy, or you're a bit miserable, you've then got 5 days straight of boring, monotonous work until you can enjoy your weekend again. Admittedly, my perspective has changed a little bit since then, and I'm trying to sort of enjoy every single day rather than just waiting for the weekend. But having a Tuesday and a Saturday off really does break up the week nicely, and it's time that I get to spend with the kids as well. Also, people really appreciate you coming out on a Sunday as well, because they think you're working overtime or you're fitting them into your very busy schedule. Tidal Wave asks, what pressure do you use on tarmac? This is a very good question, and there's lots of variables when it comes to what pressure do you use, because it depends on what tips you're using and how many tips you're using. But I don't actually have a pressure gauge on my pump, and I'm going to pay a visit to PWS on Thursday, hopefully. I'm going to try and get Darren to fit a pressure gauge onto my pump, along with a few other modifications and upgrades, hopefully. So by doing that, I'll be able to work out a workflow for each specific surface, and I don't have to keep sort of guessing. It'll be a bit of trial and error at the start, but once I've found a setup that I'm comfortable with, I'll write down the pressure and the nozzles that I'm using, and if it works well, then I'll write that down and I'll use it every time. I've seen a few people asking how they find the live stream. If you just hang around on the channel, on the main page of my channel, at around about 7:30 on a Monday night, chances are you'll see me go live, and you can just click on, or better than that, you can subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, and then you'll be notified every time I go live. Generally, if I'm not going live for whatever reason, I'll post it on the community tab on my channel. Speaking of the live stream, we've had a couple of guests on the last few sort of podcast episodes, I suppose. We had Squeaky Clean Dave, who's got about 16 years external cleaning experience, and then we also had Darren from PWS, who's an equipment supplier who's been in the game for a very, very long time. So it's good to have those two on. I've been speaking to Julia from Gutter Vacuum Systems, and hopefully she'll be on in the next couple of weeks. So that's something to look forward to. So if you've got any gutter related questions, gutter vacuum related questions, it's about the time of year to think about potentially expanding your services ready for winter. So that should be a good episode. Get your questions in, and I'll be sure to ask Julia when she gets on. Greg Beavers asks, is Synergy Pro available in the US? I have no idea. Chances are they'd probably ship it to you, but I can imagine it'll cost a fortune, but it's worth sending them an email or giving them a ring. They might be able to sort something out for you. Next question is from, I think it's Leo Minded AKS. Potentially, I might have butchered that name, I'm sorry. Hi Smelt, love your videos. You really inspired me to open up a pressure washing business. I've got a few questions. Is it possible I could email you? To be honest, I'm sure you can imagine with all my videos on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and I'm finding it really difficult to actually keep on top of the questions that are coming into my inboxes. The last thing I want to do is ignore people. So what I'm trying to do now is point people in the direction of the live streams, because I could literally spend all day trying to respond to people. And generally, if someone asks one question, it then turns into like another 4 or 5 follow-up questions. And so if you imagine I get 3 or 4 of these a day, I could spend the whole day responding to people, and I just really don't have the time at the moment, unfortunately. So if you join the live streams on the Monday night, you can put your question in the live chat and I can respond in real time to the best of my ability. So I'd recommend doing that. Thanks for watching, and I'm very glad that you're thinking about starting your own business. And the same goes for all of those comments that I get about people telling me that I've inspired them to make some sort of change or start their business or do something different. That's the whole goal of this channel. And so if I have played any part in that, keep putting those comments down below, because it does reassure me that the videos I'm creating are making a difference to people, and it kind of fills me with some sort of purpose in a way. Okay, end of day 3.
Everything's drying up nicely. Just had a quick blow around with the leaf blower. Tomorrow we're going to come back, resand everything, and then do the jointing compound on the slabbed area. These aren't black spots, this is just exposed aggregate. So we're going to do the jointing compound over here. This is what the joints look like now. Looks good, it's ready to go. That area's looking nice, wall tops are looking good. Drives come up great. I am exhausted. Absolutely covered from head to toe in muck. I've just washed my face actually, but I think we're gonna go home, have a shower, and take Sophie out for a meal. See you guys tomorrow. Bye. Day 4, I think. Just got a load of bags of sand from Travis Perkins. We're going to resand the drive. Not sure what these wet patches are. The car hasn't even been on the drive. Another one over there. Weird. I've got about 10 bags. I think that should be enough, hopefully. We'll see. Here's a little tip if your kiln dried sand gets a bit damp. I think this one's been in the shed, or it's had the hose reel sat on it and it's got a bit damp. Not sure what's happened, but if you tip it out early on and it's a nice warm day, all this will dry out in the next half an hour or so. So just tip it out, spread it around, and then by the time you come to do this area, that should be dry enough to sweep in. I'm going to go and start round the front and just leave all this here. I'll spread it out a little bit. Good to see all the streaks have gone down the side here, left from the turbo nozzle. So that was just a 5-to-1 mix of hypo that's taken care of that.
These videos take a lot of time and effort to record and edit, on top of trying to run a successful pressure washing business. So if you find any of the information in my videos useful, then I'd like for you to consider becoming a paid member of the channel, where you'll get access to my private Discord group, where I'm active on a daily basis, and I can keep up to date with what all my channel members are doing. I post pictures and videos that you won't see on any of my other socials, and it's just generally a very helpful community. We all look out for each other and give each other advice. There's all different experience levels, and we're all just there to learn from each other, so it's a really nice little group. Circle members and above get access to the Discord, and then boosted members will get access to 150 before and after images to help start their business. You can use them on your leaflets, you can use them on your social media posts, and I'll be adding more to these every few months. Click the join button underneath this video, or for iPhone users you might have to click the link in the description. Look forward to seeing you in the Discord. Right, one last plug. If any of you guys are struggling with your quoting, please feel free to head over to my quoting tool, which is on my website at smelt.club. Have a play around with it. I actually designed this for myself to speed up the quoting process and just sort of account for all the materials and labour without having to keep working it all out individually for each different property. I'm interested to know in the comments whether anyone else has actually incorporated this into their quoting system. I know a few of you have reached out and said it's been really helpful for you. And if you've got any feedback for the quoting tool as well, I'm constantly adding to this and making little subtle changes here and there. So post your feedback in the comments below and let me know what you reckon. There's also another tab for recommended suppliers if you wanted to know where I purchase my equipment and chemicals from. They're all listed there.
Right, we're all done. Haven't been able to do this area in the corner because I only had a 40-metre high pressure hose and a 10-metre extension, so a total of 50 metres got me to here. So that's a bit of a shame. I haven't been able to do this back bit. I might be able to. I'm wondering if I biocide this area when I biocide the rest. I'll see how much of a difference it makes. I've got all these steps, all the path done. AstroTurf nice and clean. All the path down here, that's all nice and flat now where the roots were coming up through the slabs. So the plan now over the next couple of days is to, this isn't a job for me, I don't think. I think someone else might be doing it, but I'm happy to give a hand. All this topsoil has got to go onto this area, and then all these rocks that we've dug out are going to end up sort of plonked on top strategically, I guess. This is all nice and flat, and then this area I'll just give it another hose down, final sweep off, and then once this is all dry, it'll still be a little bit gritty on the surface, so it's just like a final leaf blow or a sweep in the next couple of days, just so we're not walking all that stuff back into the house. I've only used 2 tubs, and just bearing in mind these joints were very, very wide and very deep. I don't know if you saw, but I brushed it in, compacted it down, and then brushed it over again and just sort of patted it lightly on top, just so that those joints are actually, you know, definitely full. It's quite a large area. 2 tubs perfectly for this area, and yeah, we're all done. That was a mammoth job, but I'm pleased with the results, and so is Mandy.